When I think about my own self and, okay, what am I trying to do at a, let's say, somewhat abstract level? I'm trying to build up a base of ideas. So I spend probably 80% of my writing time actually researching, and I'm trying to get better at writing. So once I have an idea, naming it, putting out as a tweet, as an article, as a blockbuster article, as a book, hopefully. And then there's I'm more in creating courses
Mm,
aspect of it. We have our mental model club, learning ritual, and seminal program. So I'm thinking about funnels that if people really like the writing, they get value from it, they go there. And so I'm thinking about how do I get better at creating funnels? How do I get better at creating transformative programs? So
mm,
it's four skills: idea, production, funnel, uh, and coaching.
yep.
And there's a flywheel that I get better at creating ideas. Then I can publish them across multiple platforms and then get more and more momentum there, which makes it more people go into the funnel, and more people who love the program will then promote the program on its own, and so on.
Yep.
And they'll buy multiple programs. And for you, how do you view your competitive advantage, or what makes you unique, or the flywheel that you're trying to build going to the next 5 or 10 years?
My competitive advantage is absolutely the ability to go from idea to written piece or product very quickly. Like that's what I've refined is speed is definitely an unfair advantage for me. Um but with that, right? Same thing as you. Like I admittedly don't spend as much time researching in advance. I read a lot. I read a lot, but
How
I
much
don't
would you say, just to give people context?
I probably read a book every 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
try and read a book a week, but I usually end up getting spending more time writing. But I try and get through a book every 2 weeks, and I'm always like reading interesting essays on the internet. And yesterday I was reading an essay penned by Emily. I don't know how to say her last name. Ratajkowski, the the model, and
I've heard of her, but I don't know who she
and
is.
she it was an interesting essay about just like intellectual property and models not owning their you know basically like themselves and their photos. Very really interesting, but i
Interesting.
i, I like reading like really diverse things,
Yeah,
and
likewise.
because it gives you great ideas. But yeah, I'll say like the next 10 years for me is all everything I did with articles and writing on the internet I now want to apply to writing books. I have of I'm a firm believer that the publishing world is completely upside down. I think it's ridiculous that when you sell your book to a major publishing house, the deal terms are whatever the advances, and then in some cases 5% royalties, high end 15% royalties. Like it's nothing. And I've heard from pretty much like anyone that's signed a publishing deal, good friends, people I've run into at events, all of them have said, I'll never do it again.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, really bad experiences across the board, lots of different publishers, people just saying I had no creative control, people saying like they're just timelines are completely screwed. And so for me, like the reason why people go that road is because of credibility. So every single person says they're like, yeah, but I don't want to self publish. I want to say I'm a published author. But for me, I mean, first of all of the credibility that I've like earned or gained has all been on the internet, and most of it's all just made up stuff anyway, right? Top writer on Quora, like cool. Most people don't even know what that badge means. But to me, it was a form of credibility. And then other people adopted it as a form of credibility. Same thing with top 10 writer on Inc. Like, does that mean something? I don't know. Yes, no. Credibility is subjective.
Right. Yeah.
So, so my biggest credibility was, all right, cool. I've racked up 100 million plus views on all my content. Great.
And Cole, keep going. I'm just going to let the dog out of this room, but I'm listening.
Let the dog out. And so my point though is I really think the reason why people don't even seriously entertain the self-published aspect or that road of things is because they think that it's like diminishing who they are. And they think that there's some like really big, knighting ceremony that happens when
Right,
you're
right.
a big published author. And yeah, like, okay, I get that side of it. But at the same time, I really believe that, look, if you had a self-published library and you were making 500,000, a million, couple million, 5 million, 10 million a year off of your own library because you've been at it for 20 years and you've mastered that and you're on it. I really don't think in the long run someone would be like, you know what, instead of 10 million a year, I'd rather say I was a published author under a big publishing house. I just don't believe that anyone would say that. But the reason why I feel like no one's gotten there is because everyone's too impatient and they just want the instant gratification. I wrote my book, I'll take my 100K advance, or even I'll take my 7-figure advance. I don't even care. Give me $1 million now. But they don't do the math and realize that if they had just thought through it a little bit more or just been a little more patient, instead of taking $1 million now, if that book really was a blockbuster book, they could have made $10 million off that thing.
So
And that's
you're essentially betting on self-publishing and that using your speed, you can really build up a large body of work over time. So you can publish a book a year or book every other year. 10 years from
yes.
now,
A
Cole
book a
has
year, dude. I've done 4 books in the past 7 months.
okay. So we
Like,
talk 10 years from now, you've written 40 books.
oh, bro, 10 years from now, my goal is 50 plus titles. I'm aiming for 100.
Okay.
Like, and I'm not trying to sit here and, I know the people who are like, hey, I wrote an ebook on how to train your dog in 20 hours. And then I just threw it up on Amazon with a cover I did in, Microsoft Paint. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
not trying to do that. Like, I'm trying to put out quality products, but with speed. And I really, really believe that if you have the patience and the foresight to see what comes with true ownership, then it doesn't take very long. Really, to do the math. 10% royalties does not give you a lot. Like, it doesn't take very long for all of a sudden you to start going, okay, I'm making 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand a month. All right.